Steve? Are you there? This place gives me the creeps.
What's up, Rotters, and welcome back to the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best and worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. I hope you're all doing horrendously. This week's episode is brought to you by patrons Amanda McCrary Smith, Matt Baldwin, Jared Hornbeck, Marilyn Berenson, Jane F., Sean Kingwell, and Ava Swings. Does she now? They all recently joined our Patreon, and so I wanted to say a huge thank you for supporting the show. Still to come this December on Patreon is part 2 of my personal audio essay journey through horror entitled Why Horror Part 2, and also Ghoulies 4 with listener favourite Cody Jameson Strand dropping very soon. I'll also be dropping a mini episode counting down my 2022 horror top 10 on the Cellar Dweller tier. What will make the top spot this year, I wonder? As of yet, I still don't know. It's between 3. So I'm looking forward to breaking those down and deciding what comes out on top. As this is our last episode before Christmas, I've decided to cover a heartwarming festive classic, Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. I'm joined by Brad Hanson and Alex Ayling to delve into this grisly Italian shocker and ask the question, what's the deal with Norman? As this movie is part of the mostly unrelated Gates of Hell trilogy, we have decided to band together twice more under the collective name The Mates of Hell to look at the remaining entries, The Beyond and City of the Living Dead, in January and February over on Patreon also. So enjoy rotting around the Christmas tree and have a happy holiday. I'm off to the cemetery. Welcome back separately, but welcome for the first time together, Alex and Brad. Hello.
Hello, hello friends.
Oh, Brad, not going to say hello?
I did say hello. Hello.
Oh, did you? Oh, sorry, it didn't come through. Yeah, well, let's see how this little pairing pans out, shall we? How are you both? Alex, I'll come to you first.
I am great, thank you so much. Thank you for putting this pairing together. Like we've paired in other ways, but never on a podcast.
You said you would.
What other ways have you paired?
That sounds weird now. I say it out loud.
What other ways have you paired? Tell me.
We've been roomies, right? We've been roomies.
Oh yes, no, I was there.
You were
yes,
in the room.
That. Yeah.
Getting changed.
Yes, it was messy. Oh, yeah, that's very true. How are you, Brad?
I'm delightful.
Happy Yuletide.
Happy Yuletide. I'm firmly in spooky season, but festive spooky season now.
Yeah, Fooky
season. So, you know, I recently did Don't Open Till Christmas, which I know you've just done with Kat Davis.
I was going to ask you because I saw on your letterboxd. Yes.
I've just done it for the first time myself, so that was slightly inspired by you. Congratulations. Influencing me.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm normally a November 1st Christmas guy when Mariah Carey announces it, but it's taken me a while this year. I've only just started really feeling festive this last week, and I think it was covering Don't Open Till Christmas that kick-started me. What did you think of it, by the way, Brad?
Yeah, it's all right. It's not too bad, is it? Like, I don't quite get the parable between, like, sex workers and Santa, but sure.
Well, as we were discussing, me and Kat, I don't know if they are sex workers. Like, that is not a Peep Show. She's in an oversized T-shirt and she runs it with her mum and basically just listen to men's problems. Or is that what a Peep Show is? You tell me.
So it's therapy?
Yeah, I reckon.
Festive therapy?
Festive therapy.
Therapy.
No, that one doesn't work as well.
Cut that.
So today, cut that out. Today we're going to be talking about Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery from 1981, and I think this is the first Fulci on the show. And I deliberately chose this one as it's his most successful movie of the 80s. Alex, what's your relationship with Fulci like? Are you guys going steady?
I'd say we're casual acquaintances, the odd fling. We've had a couple of serious hookups. City of the Living Dead and Beyond.
Yes,
they're faves. But I wouldn't say. I went on his IMDb, and he has made a lot of films, and I haven't seen them all.
This was his 38th film that he directed.
I mean,
That's
prolific.
insane.
Congratulations to him. No, so I'm a huge fan of the thing that he brings. Like, there's something about a Fulci film that is unlike any other. He's a director that brings like a completely different, unique aesthetic to his filmmaking that I massively appreciate. And so I was extremely happy for you to suggest this because I hadn't seen it before.
Right. I was going to say this is a first-time watch, so actually you've completed the Gates of Hell trilogy now. That's really interesting. And what about you, Brad? You're a fan of Fulci.
It was going to happen at some point.
You're a fan of Fulci, right?
I am a fan of Felching, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
I'm gonna hide
but you are a fan of the director, Lucio Fulci. So where does this one sit on your Fulci chart / spectrum?
I think it's right at the precipice, isn't it? I mean, anything that's in the Gates of Hell trilogy, I think, is an absolute worldie. And obviously Zombie 2 being, a seminal zombie work. But he's also very good he was in the early 70s, because basically Fulci went where the money was. And when the peak of Giallo was going on, he made a couple of decent Giallos as well, which were Don't Torture a Duckling.
Don't Torture a Duckling.
And Lizard in a Woman's Skin.
Lizard on a Woman's Back. Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one. So I like that he's been able to do a lot. I mean, you can go back to the 50s and watch his weird, like, Italian sex comedies and stuff. He's done a bit of everything. But yeah, I would
Westerns.
say, Euro crime thrillers, everything you can shake a stick at, he's done it.
Yeah. And so, just for anyone who isn't massively knowledgeable about him, can you give us not a history of his life, but what he's known for? And what you can usually expect when you're pressing play on a Fulci film.
So the first thing that you can, out of anything, is eye trauma. I would say is the thing that he does most often, and with as much vigor. I've always said that you should maintain a relationship standard that says that you should find someone that loves you the way that Lucio Fulci enjoys destroying people's eyes. And I think that's a good. That's certainly
beautiful.
It steered me in the right direction. Now I found Lily, and that wasn't
as much as he loves, and you love Lily as much as he loves eye trauma. There you go.
Maybe even more. It's hard to say.
Wow.
Who knows?
Wow, that's so sweet.
I know. She's gonna hear. She won't listen to this. She doesn't support anything I do. Anyway, so. Mr. Fulci, as
you already put her through enough, to be fair, mate.
She fucking goes through the ringer, bless her. But yes, so Fulci, as I kind of alluded to a minute ago, has kind of been not a gun for hire, because he does follow the money. So if westerns are successful off the back of Sergio Leone, he started making spaghetti westerns. When Giallos became popular in the 1970s, he started making Giallos after Argento kind of led the way with that. Then in the 80s, then the zombie thing happened, obviously with Dawn of the Dead. So then he made a fake remake of Dawn of the Dead, and for money then. And then slashers became a big thing, and that's where we see films kind of like The Beyond, and like House by the Cemetery, but they have their own rules that are nothing like an American slasher film.
It's like you'd ask someone to put into an AI prompt what you think a slasher might be, and then filter it through a Fulci lens, and it's like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This is what happens to be.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, after this is kind of his swan song. He made a couple of films after this that did okay, but this was the last film that was truly a success, because he did New York Ripper after this, which is proper scuzzy and sleazy. and a few other
Love it.
bits in like the late 80s. But really, this is him at the peak of his powers, and it's kind of a slow decline into his death in 1996 from there.
Yeah, and this, as we sort of touched on, this is part of the Gates of Hell trilogy, and in true Italian style, that doesn't mean that the movies are directly linked in narrative, right? But I mean, the main connection is that Catherine McCall's in all three, right, Brad?
Pretty much everything. There's no through line. It's not like Endgame.
No.
It's not Avengers Endgame where you're like, what happened to Thanos? What happened to Freudstein? There's no way that it's much like John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, right? They're kind of spiritually linked, but not thematically linked in any way, really.
Like Argento as well, I guess, with the Mother
trilogy. Yeah, exactly.
It's the same idea. And this one, so the screenplay of this was Dardano Sacchetti, and it had revisions by Giorgio Mariuzzo. And it's an interesting one because this one was apparently, Sacchetti was apparently inspired by Henry James' Turn of the Screw. But in later years, I think Fulci expressed that he thought he'd actually lifted elements from a Spanish horror movie called The House That Screamed from 1969, which I haven't seen. And he's dogged on it a little bit in later life. And this one, when it was released on VHS in the US, loads of them were muddled up and the scenes were put out of order, and each VHS basically had a different random cut, which I think Lucio Fulci's films kind of play that way anyway. I don't think it would really matter. Do you know what I mean?
Linear narrative is not top of his shopping list.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. And I think my favourite, there's 4 taglines that I found of this that were used. And I think objectively the best one is, read the fine print, you may have just mortgaged your life.
Yeah.
And then you have,
Iconic.
Past and present collide in a vortex of fear. It's all right, bit poetic, it's enticing. Yeah. Then we get, can anyone survive the demented, marauding zombies in the house by the cemetery? Not
plural.
Yes, not very accurate. And then I think my favourite
one is a fucking mess. Go on.
Yeah, beware the demon forces of the blood beasts.
The what? The blood beasts?
The blood beasts. Yes.
You didn't leave the pause. There's a pause.
Oh, sorry,
in it.
there is a ... Yes, there's an ellipse. Beware the demon forces of the blood beasts.
Blood beasts.
It's in the wrong place.
I just, you know what? I wish we could go back to a time where the marketing department didn't need to watch a film. Just like, what is going to sell it? That's the most important thing. It doesn't have to bear any resemblance to the plot or the characters or the incidents or the action.
It was actually released a few years later in South Africa, and they released it as Revenge of the New York Ripper.
Even though it comes out before. Well, it came out before New York
Yes,
Ripper.
But I think it was released. Yeah, I think it was released after.
Great.
And it just shows you, they'll just, again, marketing. They'll just do absolutely anything. So as a first-time watch, what are your general thoughts on this movie, Alex?
My general thoughts. I think that I liked it. I liked it a lot. Although I would say it sags in the middle, I would say. It's basically a dour family drama for about an hour with a kill at the beginning, and then it gets good in the final kind of half an hour. But then I was like, do you need that sort of family bit? I don't know. Was he trying to go legit? Like, I'd be really interested to know, like, what was the plan here? Like, was this the segue into a lot more legitimate? You could see the influences there. They were shooting on location in New York, and it was like, oh, here we go. And I just wonder whether he thought, like, this is my big ticket, and then it didn't happen. I don't know. But yeah, overall, some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I think this is my third time watching it, and for me, it mostly works brilliantly. But as you say, the pacing in the second and into the third act, it just baffles me sometimes. And so much shit has gone down, and then we get these scenes of mundanity and lots of signposting things that never come to fruition. But having said that, there's always something to enjoy, whether that's entertainingly bad dubbing or one of those questionable snap zooms into an extreme close-up that doesn't really mean anything. But This is the third time I watched it, as I said, and every time I've watched it, I've gone, okay, now concentrate. There has to be a reason for this, and there has to be a reason for that never gets explained. And there are several of these questions that I'll ask when we get to them. I'm sure you have them as well, that I just never quite find the meaning why things are being signposted. Well, we might as well jump in then. Alex, do you have a synopsis for us?
Yes, I have prepared a synopsis for you. It's 1981, and grants for spurious academic research are booming. Norman is an academic living in New York and studying something, who's interested in continuing the work of his former colleague in the most obvious way, by moving to Massachusetts to the house by the cemetery, where he murdered his wife and then killed himself. Norman probably thought he'd be able to focus on his work, but unluckily for him, the family is coming too, including his wife Lucy and the worst child character in the history of cinema, his son Bob. This dour family drama is routinely interrupted by mysterious noises from the boarded-up basement, squabbling real estate agents, ex-mannequin babysitters with either questionable loyalty or a pathological avoidance of what is literally in front of their eyes, a girl who might be a ghost, and most of all, some visceral dismemberments and gruey kills, because Fulci. What has all of this got to do with a 150-year-old former surgeon, a librarian with déjà vu, or the works of H.P. Lovecraft? All great questions I'm hoping we can get the answers to today.
Very good. You touched on a lot of the things that I really want to try and unpick with you guys. I think we're all going in with questions, but I think hopefully between the three of us, we can form some sort of answer.
I am so pleased. I'm so pleased we're doing a podcast about it, because where else am I going to be able to discuss this and have a conversation about the madness of the intricacies of this film?
Totally. I do love the pre-credit scene, though. It really sets up that you're in for a good one. What do you think of this? Because, I mean, we get boobs within 8 seconds and then an
immediate
awesome
boobs.
Kill. Brad? Yeah, immediate boobs.
I mean, I'm all for, as you say, boobs on screen as quick as possible. Just set the tone. I think as a cold open, it's a really good one, right? Because they're just down there for reasons, necking off. They've got to get back because they've been in trouble before. And then, like, he disappears, but then arrives with just, like, he's, like, hacked to absolute fuckery, right?
Mauled.
He's got battered face, like, mauled. But Fulci goes, oh, there's a pair of small scissors in his heart. Like, that's the least of his worries.
Yeah, I know. It looks like he's been attacked by a tiger.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
But again, this is one of the first things where you go, aha, scissors. Okay, that is going to be really significant. Everyone's going to die by scissors. It's not, but I like it because later on you go, oh, they're surgical, because we find out that Freudstein was a surgeon. But then he uses like pokers and all sorts. There's lots of things I think that are focused on that you go, I'll bank that, and then you have just taken up space. Yeah.
Just delete the cache.
Yeah.
Just clear it.
Yeah. I do love, I mean, it's so easy, but I think it's so effective. The knife in the back of the head coming out of the mouth. What did you think of that, Alex?
Loved it. And the way that it splits the lip as well. Just like, mwah, chef's kiss, no notes.
Yeah.
Super into it. And then
gorgeous.
Immediately, creepy organ music. And I think it was at this point I texted you both. I was like, yes!
Yes, you did. You're like, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Well, that's what they do. They get you at the beginning and make you stay. But I think we've got to talk about it. I think we're just skirting around it. We need to talk about Bobby, played by Giovanni Frezza. I think this is probably the most infamous movie dubbing in Italian cinema. Don't you think, Brad?
I would say that Beyond the Door has a shout for most egregious child dubbing.
Okay.
But this is up there. And also the kid. There's a couple of creepy kids, but what about Bob? This kid looks like, right, what 80s cartoons thought children looked like. Like what the Care Bears would interact with. Like strawberry shortcake. Like it doesn't make sense. This creature should not exist, and it should be killed with fire immediately.
My Arrow Blu-ray actually starts with an intro of Frezza, but grown up. apologizing for the dubbing before his voice, because it's not his voice, and then says, "Enjoy the movie." It's brilliant.
Amazing.
I don't want to see him as a human. I like as a person. I only want to know him as this. He doesn't exist. He never grew up. He's still that age, like Bud Cort.
But also the dubbing, though, I tried to look it up and I couldn't quite find it. I don't know if either of you know, but it's not a child.
No, is it like The Simpsons, where Bart Simpson is voiced by a grown adult woman? Yeah, it must be that.
Yeah,
surely.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, both the kids, I think, well, it was one of those classic Italian things. So most of the dialogue was in English. You have the two kids were speaking Italian, but then absolutely everything was dubbed anyway. So the entire film is dubbed. So Bobby and his parents, Norman and Lucy, are relocating, as you mentioned, so that Norman can take over the research project. At one point he says, "Oh, ironic, he was researching suicide and he committed suicide." I don't. That's strange to me. I don't know why.
Is there a lot of field work when you're researching suicide?
Yeah,
I feel like you should be talking to people.
And I feel like the police do the research of suicide. I don't know, but as they're packing up, Bobby is seeing May. We come to understand later that this is in the photo of the house that they have on their wall. So, and listen, I'm just going to go there. This is one of the things I always try and solve. So throughout this movie, it's alluded to that Norman has been to this house before. In one instance, he's literally greeted by someone who says, "Oh, you were here last year with your daughter," which he doesn't even have. He also has a big framed photograph of said house on his wall in the family home. Does any of this ever tie up? Discuss.
No, and he's very evasive about it, because at one point the wife is like, this house looks very much like that picture we've got at home. He's like, "No, they all look like that round here. It's just the way that houses are built." It's like, but the tree's the same. Everything's exactly the same.
And then the next question would be, okay, so what is that picture of the house we've got? And then you try and expand on that. But no. Have you got any answers for this? Does it mean anything, Brad?
Stevie, why are you doing this to yourself?
I'm doing it to you.
But why are you trying to unpick something that he had no interest in ever answering?
But I'd like
major.
It's a major problem. I'd like to think that perhaps you would argue that maybe he's been possessed by the spirit of Freudstein. Maybe that's one way of looking at it. That you could, or that he's a disciple of Freudstein, and maybe wants to get in on the whole family suicide bit, pact.
Right.
But then probably not.
But Freudstein famously hasn't committed suicide. He's still down there, rotting away.
He did a very bad job of committing suicide.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I understand that maybe Fulci is trying to wrong foot us. So, we're distracted and like, this is where the evil is. And then it's like, oh no, it's in the basement. You can do that only if you then explain away why you convinced us of this other thing. Like, even with Anne, the babysitter, they act shady with each other. Like, they know each other, and we get the snap zoom to extreme close up, and both their eyes are doing like evil frowns at each other. But it doesn't go anywhere.
What? So Anne has got a whole other deal. We need to come to Anne at some point, because we could do a whole serial style podcast on Anne. Like, where did she come from? What are her motivations? Was she a reanimated mannequin or not? Like, all of these questions that are never answered.
Well, the mannequin bit. That's with May. So let's talk about this device of May, who is the girl who lived in the house. We're assuming is a ghost because Bobby's seen her in the picture. And she kind of acts like a spirit guide for Bobby. However, we, the audience, also sometimes follow her on her own when Bobby's not around, like the mannequin moment. And when she communicates with Bobby, he's in the car, she's across the street, and I'd say they're communicating telepathically, but they're actually speaking out loud and yet hear each other as if they're next to each other. So rather than telepathy, they're throwing their voices.
So it's, yeah. But the other thing is when she's in
they're talking.
Yeah, when she's in the picture, he's reading her lips, right? And I'm like, that's an ironic thing for this movie, that you can read someone's lips.
Yeah, quite. Brad, May, the device.
Once
What?
again, well, he's going against his own conventions, right? Because if we are to believe she's a Bruce Willis, then
Spoilers.
you need to treat her. Shush. If you're listening to this podcast, you've seen Sixth Sense. That maybe, like, if you're going to do that, then we have to only see her engaging with Bob. And the fact that we're seeing why we're seeing this ghost doing her own fucking Nancy Drew shit, like, I don't know why you need to show us that, and you're kind of undermining the fact she's a ghost by doing so. Yeah, because we're not supposed to see that. She's supposed to already know all that, or she's done it off screen because she should be tethered to Bob.
Yes,
as a narrative through line.
Because I thought those bits with her on her own were a flashback to begin with.
No.
But then no. Then there was a car that drove past. I was like, oh.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's such a bizarre choice to sometimes have us just following her. And clearly she knows she's a ghost because she must know. Oh, or does she? Because maybe when she's in the picture, she doesn't know she's in a picture. She probably just thinks she's in the house, waving at Bobby, who she sees outside. Yeah. So maybe she doesn't know she's dead.
But then
again,
she seems to know
the
a
coda
lot.
of the film. The coda of the film suggests that they do know they're dead.
And they're taking him. Yeah, this is true. And yeah, so the mannequin moment. If she knows she's dead, oh my god, I need paracetamol.
But the mannequin is also a premonition.
Yes, that's the thing. It's a foreshadowing and it's a premonition of what is going to happen to Anne. And maybe that's because she's dead and she can see when people are to die.
But then why does she only see Anne and no one else?
Oh god.
But also, why is Anne is Anne in on it?
Oh, right, okay. When we meet her, this is played by Anna Pierini. She makes quite the entrance, doesn't she? And when she says, "I'm Anne, the babysitter," she says it like she may as well have said, "I'm Anne, the destroyer of worlds."
Yes. It's a choice.
What is this character?
I don't know. And then, because I was like, oh, no one ever talked about it, so she's obviously nefarious and, 81, like, who cares? Some rando can look after your children forever, like, whatever. But then she was sent by the real estate agent, because they, like, have a pally chat and whatever. But then she's, like, cleaning up an extraordinarily large amount of blood from the kitchen floor, but then hiding it. And so, is that a normal occurrence? Whose blood does she think it is? And why is she not saying anything to anybody? But then she just gets killed anyway. Like, not part of the thing at all. What is going on?
Moment. I was like, is this a twist? Because they've set her up to be so villainous, like a Scooby-Doo villain with her eyes. And then, cleaning up blood. And then she just gets ripped apart.
Yeah.
Brad?
Listen, right. I think you think she's evil because of her eyebrows. She has very menacing eyebrows.
And the cleaning up
and the
of
way
the
she
blood.
speaks, and the cleaning up of the blood, and the desperately, secretly trying to get into the cellar. And then Norman, who has barely met her, comes and goes, "Anne?" Like, not yet.
You know the rules.
Yes, we've discussed this. You know what's down there.
Yeah. Now back to cleaning up the blood.
Yes.
Could you? You've missed a spot. So yes, she is led to believe. I always feed into this kind of like there's a cult following of this Freudstein.
It's like The Omen. That's what I was thinking. Getting the vibes of her, like she's part of the following.
Yeah, and that she's like helping. As like an instrument of destruction to get pawns into place so that they get into the basement at the right time. But no. Or is it that Freudstein just cannot help himself? And obviously he needs he needs an amount of bodies.
Cells.
Maybe she's been brought in with the full knowledge. All right, I'm going to help out. I'm going to send forth. But she's been stitched up. So when she goes down there, it would have really helped if she'd said a line like, "No, you promised me that I'd be part of the second coming," or something.
Yes.
To give...
Okay. Yeah, I buy that, actually. It would have been nice if we didn't make that narrative and it was fed to us a little bit. But that makes more sense, that she is a disciple and she's been promised something if she brings fresh blood. And then he's like, yeah, thank you for doing what you did. I'm not keeping my promise. I need your cells.
Classic bad guy move.
It
All he
is
needs is to
80.
get
Yeah.
It's a lot of people I need, so you're going to have to pitch in. Come on.
Yes, yeah.
Come here.
You said you were dedicated to me.
Now
Come
you're
on.
dead.
And
Here, Kate.
another thing that is set up that never really comes to fruition is Norman's constantly trying to make Lucy take her pills. And she goes, but they cause hallucinations. So you think, oh, I know what's going to happen. The toxic male, she's going to see some shit. And then he's going to go, you're an hysterical woman. You're hallucinating. It's the pills. Does that ever happen?
No. There is a focus on the pills at one point, the pink ones. Cause I looked I've
all over the dresser.
I just finished watching it this morning, like just before,
right.
Stopped 20 seconds before we started. So it's
perfect.
I would say it's nice and fresh.
That's
in my
why
mind,
you're the
but I'm
expert.
like, am I the expert? I think he's the expert. You're here as the first time watcher, and I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. I'm just happy to be here.
We're all just happy to be here.
I know it's how Stevie has just skirted past that and doesn't want to address it. It's just move on. Don't get into why.
Yeah, that's enough of that. But the mystery starts to somewhat unfold because Lucy finds the tomb in the middle of the house, and Norman's been looking at Peterson's notes, and now we know about this. We hear this name of Dr. Freudstein, and obviously there's the cellar door which they managed to open, where they find a very aggressive bat, right? What did you think of this section, Alex?
It's a very aggressive bat which has very capacious blood vessels. I'll put it that way. There was a lot of blood inside that bat.
Yeah, who knew bats held 8 liters of blood?
Yeah, it was really going for it. I think I loved that. I think I loved it like the most, maybe of the whole film. It just is so extended as a sequence. It doesn't need to be as long as it is.
This fucking bat really latches on.
And it's really resilient, like fair play. It does not want to die, and it's very shrieky.
Would you say this kind of, because this one and the estate agent kill, including the bat as well, Brad, would you say this is typical Fulci because it goes on for longer than any kill should?
Well, I think this is one of these ones where he's like, nothing has happened for a while, so now lots of things have to happen for quite a while. Because we've had all this establishing stuff with like, is this, who's she, what's this, all the pills, blah, blah, blah. So then we have this bat that somehow can bleed from areas it hasn't been stabbed in, which...
It's squirting, isn't it?
It's literally geezering out from areas. He's been stabbed once, but it bleeds from about 8 different areas. It is a haemophiliac bat, and I'm worried about it. But yeah, I mean that is such a camp, stupid scene. But also there is a degree of like, it gives you the bit of the ick just because of the sheer amount of bloodletting and the fact that it won't let go. Because I'm thinking like just how that would suck, right? Metaphor. Yeah. That was an unintentional.
Well, there you go. Nice.
I didn't even mean that one. But yeah, how awful that would be to have something just constantly, and like the fact it won't come off is.
There's some great like Bruce Campbell hand acting going on as well.
Yeah.
Yes, the sort of the trembly hand, obviously, because they never want you to quite see it still because that'll give the game away.
It's a puppet.
Yeah, it's a puppet. Something that really pissed me off. So the ghostly voices, which is always what's her name, Maria von der Stein, Maria von Trapp. No, the wife. What's the wife called again?
Lucy May.
No, the dead wife. Sorry, Freudstein. Anne, Mary, doesn't matter. But the mother, May's mother. So both Bob and May, throughout the film, hear their voices being called ghostly by her. So it's like May, and both of them always take at least 3 times until they even start to turn around. It really frustrates me, especially if it's your mum. going, May,
Yeah.
May.
You'd be like, what?
May, yeah, what? For fuck's sake, kids, am I right?
Yeah.
Don't listen, do they? This is your field of expertise, Alex.
Yes.
This is why I'm on the podcast. Here we go.
Daddy
Just this
talk.
section.
I mean, to be fair, like, I feel like my kids have got selective hearing as well, and there's a certain tone you have to use if you actually want to cut through. So, but also it works both ways. Like, there's a voice they'll use when I know they're just being annoying little shits, and I just can ignore it. And there's another voice I'm like, oh no, you're actually genuinely hurt. So, you know, maybe that's what it is. Benefit of the doubt.
God, great. Well, I'm glad you know that distinction now. Was it a bit of trial and error? Oh, whatever. Oh, shit.
Whatever, come in, blood everywhere. Yeah, exactly.
I think possibly, I don't know if Anne or the estate agent is my favourite kill, but the estate agent lady, realtor, whatever you want to call it, it's so prolonged, and he's known for this, isn't he, Brad? Because
proud of it. They are so proud of this thing. They got like every angle, low, up, down, right, left. It's
the sort of the slow poke into the ribs. Now, not done. Then one in the heart, then in the throat, and then we are going to see that gush for a long time. Because I'm thinking, it makes me think of, you know, in Zombie 2, the worm zombie. It's like a 22-minute scene, just him slowly getting up, and the tarantulas in the Beyond. They really focus on these for a long time, don't they, Brad?
Yeah, but I think that's a fun quirk of Fulci's, and I think it adds this kind of, because one thing you can always say about all his work is it's all ethereal and dreamlike, and it all applies to dream logic, which then allows you to get away with the litany of plot holes we've already discovered within this film and his entire collected body of work. But when he does these kind of almost, I would say that this particular one, it's almost romantic. There's almost kind of like the geysers of blood. It's almost bordering on orgasmic in how it kind of lets from her neck onto her face and over her body, and it's kind of her like writhing in this kind of pose that could be construed as agony or ecstasy. There's this weird kind of psychosexual element to this particular kill that I find quite, I'm not going to say alluring, but interesting.
Yeah, and I suppose it's the slow penetration as well. I think it's they're definitely trying to evoke something in your brain to go, do I like this?
Isn't that all of horror?
Do you?
That's the entire.
Well, yeah, I guess
the entire of your audience is sort of like nodding in a guilty way right now, listening to this.
Right.
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, they go, oh yeah,
Sure.
Oh yeah, you poker with the poker. This is, I think, where the pace kind of drops.
The moment where Anne is watching Bobby play with a car. This is another moment where it really sets up something's going to happen. You look in despair, Alex.
The fucking car.
Go on, talk to me.
No, I'm just over it. But like, it's such an annoying toy. The whole thing. But yeah, I'm over it.
But it comes to it like it's going to predict a crash, right? The way she's looking at it and she's sort of giving it the eyes. And then we see Lucy shopping and she comes out and she walks into a road and you're like, oh God, this is going to be a scene where she crosses the road. Brad, I'm coming to you.
No. I can't.
Stop asking me questions on your podcast. I do not like it.
But I'm not making this up, am I? But they definitely focus on it to suggest it's a premonition, right?
That they're going to crash a car, or he's going to cause
Yeah.
a car crash, or he could have influence over a car.
Yes.
And then nothing.
Right, cool. Okay.
But like, what is he like is he the new vessel? Like, is he the new chosen one? Like, none of that is explored. There isn't even a legacy carrying on thing. There are no acolytes. I feel like the script needed more work. Let's just put it that way.
It's a wonderful mess. Anne's death, though, because she gets trapped in the basement. She's at the top of the stairs. I just think I love it so much because it is vile.
Yeah. But like what? So there's this whole thing of like Lucy's gone shopping, and so Bob's at home alone with her, and then you're like, oh, whose side is she on? And then she goes into the cellar looking for Bob, and then just gets her throat slit and her head comes off. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all right. So
Well, Bob's outside with his pink pistol.
Metaphor.
Oh no, come on. Oh, for fuck's sake. And his monkey.
Pete Pistol's monkey.
Oh no, come on. Right, I'm moving on. But that I just love the effects on that moment though, with the because he loves a gash, does Fulci.
Don't we all? Oh no.
Oh, God. This is falling apart at the seams.
just like Dr. Freudenstein.
Yes, quite.
Paging Dr. Freudenstein.
Obviously, we've had this foreshadowed by May. Stop it.
Is this going well, Stevie? Are you happy with how this is going?
This is going to be a classic episode. Yeah, wonderful. But obviously there's no body because Lucy shows Bob that there's no body in the cellar and Anne's probably just somewhere else. But he gets locked down. This is the big climax now. Oh, for God's sake, leave it.
What a little prick.
Don't pick up on climax. And the glowing eyes, they're interesting.
I mean, he doesn't actually have any when we see him.
He doesn't have eyes when we see him. Let alone
Whose eyes are
glowing
they?
ones. It looks like Marvin the Martian is down there.
Ah, you've come down
Sure.
to my lair, I see.
Yes.
First ever attempt to do it.
But Norman, that was very good. Norman arrives. Obviously, he chops off someone's arm through the door, and we get the reveal of Freudenstein. I'm just going to close my computer. Yeah, whatever. I love this design. I think it's fucking iconic. What did you think as a first-time watch, Alex?
I completely agree. Like it's up there in the pantheon of Fulci zombies, right? It's got all the grue and the glisteningness of it, and it's really disgusting. And like a worthy apogee at the end of this movie. Like it's worth the wait. I mean, I still don't really understand why he sounds like children sobbing. But
Right.
you know, but the look of him is great.
Yeah, because there's a moment where he's sat sort of in the shadow and you hear kids crying. And I was like, oh, that's creepy. It's like he's mimicking kids crying, doing like a parrot just to lure people. So they always think, oh, there's a child. Is that what's happening, Brad?
I mean, why have I got to talk about luring children to basements? I wanted to talk about how fun his effects were, but instead it's like,
Okay, go on. What?
No, I'll talk about it. I'll speak my truth. Luring kids to basements. It's tricky. It's tough. You need to sometimes put a voice on. I prefer Marvin the Martian to get them down there. Listen, I think it's actually quite an evocative noise to make, and certainly something I don't think
it works.
that's been replicated really. Even like It and stuff has never done anything that would be, you know, they sometimes put on kids' voices to like lure, you know, help me, Georgie. Oh,
Yeah.
But like just children sobbing as a noise coming out of a
Multiple as well, yeah.
desiccated coconut of a man, just being like, it's quite a shocking combination, shall we say? But I do love it when he comes in before he's lost his ad, and he grabs Bob by the face, and the hand goes into the child actor's face so hard. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
It's not like the sound effects made that look rougher. That kid got fucking like pied, like pied in the face.
Yeah, there's no way he didn't. He definitely had a bloody nose after that, like full nosebleed. There's no way. The bridge of his nose is collapsed.
That's why you don't get a bone in your nose until you're like 8 or 9. It's just cartilage. Should be fine.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's another daddy fact.
Yay, there you go. Really covering all the demographics here. Yeah, I just love... This is very Fulci as well, isn't it? Because he stabs him, Well, maggots fall out, but when they hit the ground, they're full worms. Did anyone else notice
Evolution.
Oh.
Happening right before our eyes.
It's all those extra cells that he's got. It's just like changing their DNA on the way down. But also it's all that grime. It's like the stuff that comes out of a radiator. Like he's just got all this gross black pedigree chum kind of.
It reminded me of like a melted chocolate bar that you leave in a car. You know, that you have
one
to,
of
like,
them.
and you have to like kind of
That has nuts.
froob it out.
Yeah, froob.
You have to froob it out. So you get your claggy boost that's been sitting in the car.
Yeah.
Froob out your claggy boost.
Yeah, I love a claggy boost, me.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. No one will buy it.
Brad.
Yes. Hi.
Can we ask about the score?
Yeah.
There's one moment here where it just stops, but it doesn't sound like it's designed to stop. It's completely underscored, then it just goes "Go!" and completely stops, and then they go up the step ladder. It's that moment. But this isn't Fabio, is it?
Score-wise was Walter Razzazzi and
That's
Alessandro Blanksteiner, of course.
Of course.
Classic.
Yes.
Classic. But that edit cut of it being proper, you know, the symphonic organ music, and then it just goes, and it's deathly silent. That to me sounds more like an error than a choice.
Yes. That's what I was wondering, because you almost hear a needle come off the fucking record. It's just really a bizarre stop.
Yeah.
And it kind of kills the moment. But this final... Right. What happens? So May helps Bobby escape, because Norman's had his throat ripped out. Lucy's gone.
Lucy's fallen down the stairs, smacked into the grave.
I love that throat rip, though. I just want to say on record.
Yeah, it's a good throat
rip. Is a great one. Love it.
It's an all-timer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right, you tell me. I'm going to come to you, Alex. What is the message at the end? What happens there?
So, I don't think it's until the end that we find out that May was a Freudstein all along. And so she was his daughter, I think.
Yes, and even though she said at her mother's grave, oh, her body's not in there, I just know it. I know she's up and about or whatever.
Sure. So, I don't know how much the mum and her were in on whatever was going on down there. But then they seem corporeal at the end with Bob. So my headcanon is that Bob is reaching through, like he's struggling to get through the gravestone, and he doesn't make it. Freudenstein kills him. And this is his like dream sequence of like, oh no, I am gonna, or like in the process of being captured and dismembered or whatever, he's thinking like, oh, his brain has activated a kind of defense mechanism of like, oh, the ghost girl will save me and we'll walk off down a foggy pathway through the forest. So that's what I thought.
So Freudstein gets him, he's ripping him up, and then he is imagining that he's going off with this new family. Okay, that's your take. What's yours, Brad?
Okay, so Bob and Mum are coming upstairs. Mum gets dragged down, gets her head bashed in. So now Bob's watched his mum and his dad get killed in very short succession. He's fighting to get through the gravestone. My interpretation is that, yes, once again, I do think Freudstein kills him, but I don't read it as Alex's. I read it not as a dying dream. I read that as her bringing him to the other side. The passing through the grave is him coming to the spirit world.
Crossing over with John Edward, yeah.
Yes. But then he's just witnessed this horrible 2 instances of his parents being throat ripped, head smashed, and he comes out and goes, May! Like, he is so happy to see her. He's like, thank God you're here. I have had a nightmare downstairs. Thanks for pulling me up.
You
the
would
things
not believe
I have seen.
Yeah. They go like, May, Bob! Like, it is like so, it's like you've just bumped into your friend that you made on holiday. Ha! It's you! Hi! Odd situation.
But isn't this the first time they're meeting? I'm doing air quotes for podcast listeners. The first time they're meeting, right?
Maybe.
No, we've seen them together, like at the gravestone.
That's true. But
in the woods.
But has he seen her?
Yeah. Well, this is the first time they've been on the same plane of existence through Brad's reading.
Yes, the same wavelength.
I think mine's closer to Brad's as well. That I think he gets his arm through, and I think that's all it gets through. I think he gets ripped back down those stairs by Freudstein. I think his arm even comes off. That's just in my head and it stays. That's how people find it. And then he is in the afterlife because Mother Freudstein says something about, well, now he's going to live with us. And so they take him off to the astral plane or wherever it is.
But don't forget, Stevie, don't forget, no one will ever know if children are monsters. All monsters are children.
Are children. Yes,
no one will ever
Henry
know.
James quote at the end.
Yeah, it's not a real quote, but yeah, they made it
not?
up for the. No, they made it up for the film and attributed
What? You
it to
can't
Henry
do that,
James.
can you?
They
You
did.
can't do that.
Bitches be crazy. Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah. I had a dream. Britney Spears.
That's like one of those Facebook posts that your mum posts, which has got the wrongly attributed quote on it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, all right. Well, we didn't get many answers there, but one thing I just want to ask is, because it's the one thing that bothers me most about this film, is the stuff about everyone thinking Norman, even the real estate agent, the guy at the archive.
We didn't even talk about the librarian guy. What's his name?
Yeah,
He's
the
got a great
librarian
name.
dude.
I wrote it down. Daniel Douglas.
What an interesting performance that is. But why does everyone think... Does he look like... What? I just need some... Even if you make up a lie, just tell me why.
And
all
also,
that is
why
in there.
why is May and her mum welcoming Bob into their family? Like, what's the connection? Is it just because he died in the house? It's like,
Or
you too.
are they
Sorry.
from a line of Freudsteins?
Oh.
Because that would make more sense, that he looks like a Freudstein, and that the family of generations, he just has the same features or something.
Was there a Care Bear called Freudstein?
No.
God's sake. No, he said. Brad.
Yes.
Tell me, please.
I don't know
I need
what you
something.
I mean, you're looking for crumbs of comfort at a barren plate. There's nothing I can provide you that's going to make this any less of a bitter pill to swallow.
Okay.
It does. Is Norman? Has he been there before? Is he part of the Freudstein bloodline? I mean, he has a different surname. They're the Boyles, not the Freudsteins. Bob
but he has
Boyle.
a picture of the bloody house that's probably passed down from generation. It looks
Maybe
like one of those sort of pictures.
Maybe it was left in the will from his other researcher. Left it to him.
All right.
Maybe. But it is weird to already have a picture of a house that you're going to move into.
That you didn't know.
That you didn't know. And also try and convince your wife isn't the house you're moving into. And it has a little...
Yes.
And it also has
He's
a whole little
Dodge.
girl in it.
Listen,
He's
petition for the prequel starts here. Like, let's do it. We need an ex-Pearl situation. Yeah.
Brad, for you... Oh, well, now you've seen the entire Gates of Hell trilogy, Alex, both of you. How do you rank it in 1, 2, 3?
Oh, that's a hard question.
This is easy.
And shall I put you on the spot? And should we cover the other two at some point next year?
Oh, now
I'd be
you're
happy to do
talking.
Let's do that.
I would also be happy to do that.
So before the revisit of the others, just off the top of your head, how would you rank them, Alex?
I think the one I go back to the most is City. So I'd put that at 1, then Beyond, then maybe this third.
So that's in chronological release order, I guess.
Oh, well, there you
what about
go.
you, Brad?
It's the Beyond. It's
Yeah.
City of the Living Dead, and then it's House by the Cemetery.
Yeah, I think that's mine, but I'm not gonna solidify that, because I think if the three of us revisit the other two, we'll see how much we can pull those apart and hate afterwards.
So
we're
a trilogy.
Love.
No, I know. I absolutely love this film. I really
But
do.
it doesn't make a lick of sense.
No, it doesn't. And
But that's not
every
important.
time-
That's not what this podcast is about.
No, that's true.
You could call this the
That's-
Gates of Hello trilogy because there's 3 of us as well. We're a trilogy of people.
Oh,
Right.
Where
Where are you getting
walks of
hello
life.
from?
I think
yeah.
there's something.
Listen, this came off the top of my head. I hadn't thought it
Yes,
through.
yeah. No.
But you know, there
Okay.
are 3 of us. We all come from different walks. We got an actor.
What about-
we got a dad?
What about the Mates of Hell?
Hang on. The Mates of Hell.
of Hell.
You got there first. I was going to say it. The Mates of Hell.
Mates of Hell.
The Mates of Hell.
Little mini season.
like it.
Okay, amazing. Well, I can't wait to do that. But just quickly before you go, because I know you're pressed for time, Alex. What are your festive horrors that you always revisit? I'd like to ask.
Oh, do you know what? I love Black Christmas. Love Black Christmas.
And Jack Frost.
Gremlins. Not Jack Frost, actually. No. Gremlins is the number one, I think, for me, probably.
Yeah.
The most festive of festive treats.
Yeah.
Although I will do a recent shout out for the Advent calendar, which I watched in the week, which I hadn't seen before,
banger.
and was really, really surprisingly good. Yeah, very into
Yeah,
that. So
I
that
saw
might
that
make
Fright
it on
Fest.
future rotations.
Yeah. What about you, Brad?
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Obviously.
Number 2.
Garbage
Well, I suppose
to-
that's great because it's and I suppose it's best to choose to because you get both films in there anyway.
Yeah, they explained the plot in the first one anyway. I also want to
Yeah.
give a shout out to Criminally Underseen, P2. Frank Calhoun, Wes Bentley starring.
I don't know
2007
this.
slasher written by Alexandra Aja and Frank Calhoun. Who
Wait,
went
is
on
this
to
the
do
one
Main-
set in a
What?
parking garage?
That's the one.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Wow. Me neither.
I've been shouting this
Is it
from the
festive?
rooftops. Yeah, it's set on Christmas Eve.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
mate,
I'm
all right,
watching
there
that
you go.
like, now.
It's
Well,
great.
tonight probably.
It's
Oh,
it's-
wow.
it's the right level of camp as well. You'll really enjoy Wes Bentley's performance. And I've been
can't
screaming from the rooftops on every podcast I've had the opportunity to speak on recently that more eyes need to be seen on P2. It's good.
Well, there you go.
So,
I'm definitely
so
gonna
therefore,
go.
we'll expect a second sight release of it in about 9 months' time.
Yes,
that seems to
because
be the way it
Brad's
goes with me.
I'm gonna recommend 2 deep cuts. One will be Charles Band's Trancers and The Brain from 1988, which is also set around Christmas, and it's about a giant killer brain. So yeah, got lots
what's
there
not to
for
love?
everyone. Yeah,
I've just picked up the
Got some real
limited.
cross-section.
I've just picked up the limited edition 101 films in the Black Friday sale. The Brain.
I love that film. It is one of the sort of true pinnacles of B movie because it is outrageous.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to revisiting it because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both very much. And where can everyone find you online? Quickly, Brad.
You can find me on all social media at Had Branson.
And Alex.
And you can come and find me at Alex J. Ayling.
Perfect. Thank you both very, very much. Happy holidays.
holidays.
Christmas!
So obnoxious.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Toodles.
There we go. Thank you so much, Alex and Brad. Glad we got to the bottom of nothing. See you next year for City and the Beyond. Can't wait for that. Next week, on Boxing Day, we'll be easing your food coma by covering Rick Sloane's 1988 trash-to-piece Hobgoblins, and I couldn't be happier. To join our Patreon, get your hands on some of our awesome new t-shirts, and to follow us on the socials, you know it. Just go to steviesbrainrot.com or click the link in the notes below. Alright, toodles!